Hey guys, I've got 3 tables of 100 NL on PokerStars Pennsylvania here. Just figured I'd make a quick play and explain. Only 3 tables this time just because I think it's a bit easier to explain my thought process and go through the hands a little bit more methodically when there's less tables. So yeah, just gonna go for 3 tables, and if there's any breaks between hands or anything like that, anything boring, I'll just cut it out of the final video. Maybe we'll try and get like 30 minutes in. So yeah. Alright, we pick up Jack 10 suited on the gun. Gonna open that on table 2. As you can see right now, the games are pretty good. Um, after work hours on a Friday, uh, they're always gonna be pretty good. We've got a couple regs down on table 3 though, so just a mix of spots, which I think will be nice. So we get the King King Jack, UTG versus Big Blind, even against like a weak player. I'm just gonna c-bet range, maybe even more so against a weak player because it's just gonna be more effective when they can't, combat the high frequency c-bet as well. So just gonna go ahead and c-bet a third with range on the double Broadway texture. On the turn, it's close. We can probably argue for another bet. Um, because we have backup equity with hearts, and our jack is actually pretty good. Like, he'll be flatting hands from the big blind like jack 8, jack 7. Like, obviously he's not going to 3-bet these types of suited hands. So I think we go either way. I think this time I'm going to go with a check. I'm going to call the queen jack off over here. We face half pot on the river. I think we have just a pretty clean call. He could have obviously called flop with a lot of hands, and now have a lot of options to potentially bluff with. Or go for some thin value with pocket fours, I guess. Turn a jack over here, but generally still going to be a card that's a bit better for cutoff. So just going to check again here. And we have the queen, so our hand's good to check call. We have some backup equity. Of course, facing that size, we'll just put in the call. We do river a jack as well, which is interesting. I think it's possible he checks back a king now. So I'm thinking I'm probably just going to lead to try and target a king. Something like half pot. I think he probably c-bets a lot of ace-x on the flop, so I don't know if we ever going to get called by much. Just going to exploitatively size like a small size. We do get called. Let's see what he had. He had ace-5 off, so a weak ace. So that hand probably also checks back in position. I doubt it goes for 2 streets, considering he used such a small size on the turn. Kind of indicates that he's not super happy about the hand. I'm just going to stay on these 3 tables, so I'm not going to. We get a min open here. A flat. Problem is this guy is very squeeze happy, so I could squeeze myself, but versus UTG and then +1 flat, I'm just going to fold that time. And now for here with the double Broadway, I'm just going to c-bet. Return of 4. We have a combo that can consider barreling. I think if suit's reversed, I'll barrel pure. In this case, I think ace high is probably a decent enough hand to have some checks. The suits are obviously good because we don't have a heart or a spade, so we don't block any like flop call, turn fold, backdoor flush draw type hands. But this time I am just going to check. Not a great river. He's just going to make a lot of random like 1-pair hands and things like that. He uses a big size, so he's saying he has like either a king or something like a 2-pair. We don't have, I'd prefer to have a pair on the board if I was going to maybe stick in a hero call here. It's totally possible he can have just like a 2-pair or something like that, so I'm just going to let that one go. I also don't know what sorts of bluffs there will be. It's kind of hard to have total error. But you could have some, random cards there that sort of are nothing. So we flop 2-pair here on a pretty connected board. I'm going to start with half. I think there's a chance if we use a third that the under pairs will just fold anyway, so I might as well target like a more decent hand. Not a great turn. Obviously not the flop you want to see with kings over here either. I'm going to check back. Turn over here, and maybe catch a bluff on the river, be able to value bet in position. Here I'm just going to check multi-way, especially with a button cold caller on an ace-high board. And I think we have a pretty clean call here. with the 6 high. That's good. That's why we let him fire his bluffs like that. I'm gonna open the king queen off. Here, when it goes bet call, it's really tough. I'd probably float with a diamond, but I just think one of them is gonna have an ace too much of the time for it to be a very attractive spot to continue my kings. So, a bit unfortunate, but happens. On the jack 6-8, I'm just gonna check this time. This board's kind of connected to like the suited connectors, pocket pairs that he could flat from the small blind. And our hand wants to realize some overcard equity, like that. He goes half. You could consider a raise, but it's a little incoherent. We're basically just saying we have ace king and king queen, which is possible. But I'd prefer maybe just to call in position and not over fast play, because he is still uncapped, I think, for that, even for that size. 6s and 8s and things like that. And I think we probably call basically any river size. Yeah, versus half we will call. And he's value betting a jack, so nice hand. So we get limp 2 with queen 8 suited in the big blind. I don't really have many hands on these players. I'm just going to check and take our suited card equity here. Flop middle pair. Our hand's probably good enough for a small bet on the turn if we get checked to by a small blind. I'll go something like 1 big blind multi-way. It's not really enough to deny equity from clubs, but I really don't think we can argue for a much bigger size with just an 8. And we're probably going to let it go over here when we get the snap raise. A lot of the logical candidates for bluffing here are going to be like ace X of or ace X with the ace of clubs. And a lot of those ace X hands will just open pre. I doubt they'll limp, but some people like to, you know, limp random ace X. But still, I just don't think our hand's good enough to continue. We can have some better turn leads here to continue. All right, we get limp 2 with 6-5 suited. I'm just going to ISO this. 3.5 might be a little small, but I think it accomplishes what I needed to accomplish. We get 3-bet by this guy who's way over 3-betting. So it's a fairly large size. If one of these players calls, I'll probably call, but if not, I'll probably fold. Yeah, it's a little tough in this configuration, because he is way over 3-betting, but he's also going to be way over aggressive post-flop, and yeah, it's close. I'll just let it go that time. I think there's some other scenarios where we can punish the over 3-betting. At a table full of recreationals who are under 3-betting as well, I'll just open this 1 pip wider. And we'll check the jack deuce suited over here. And I am getting 3-bet. Unfortunate. Get the 2 pair over here. We will just check in flow. I'll float if we have a heart, but not this time. So I think we will check raise over here. We have a lot of logical bluff candidates. Um, 4-5 gets there. We go for a small bet, but I also don't think he's ever folding like heart if I just shove, given his player type. So maybe I just rip it for a little over pot on the turn. Wow. And we hold for a decent pot. Yeah, I'm just thinking he has a lot of hands like that, like maybe pair plus flush draw, but I'll also just a lot of flush draws, maybe combo draws. When we block the jack, and yeah, I do kind of just want to get it in against those types of hands. I think it's unlikely. I mean, it's possible he has a like just a jack, but even those could make an argument for calling because we still will be able to be bluffing here sometimes. So yeah, I think it's a fine hand. Obviously, it worked out, which is nice. We got ace queen off over here on the button, facing open and call. I'm just gonna put in the 3-bet, maybe just slightly smaller than normal because the initial raiser is a little shorter. If we get shoved on, it's interesting. I think the min open 4-bet shove, I don't think we're gonna be doing that great against it. It would be like ace king and, you know, obviously some strong hands, but like I don't think we'll ever dominate that. It could be like ace jack suited sometimes, but that hand could also just call the 3-bet. I don't know. Not sure how to feel about that, but glad we didn't get put into that spot. Here we pick up ace king off. Blind versus blind against the guy who over 3-bets. And he didn't 3-bet that time, which is a little unfortunate. Because we would have wanted to absolutely make the pot bigger with that type of hand. And against that type of player, for sure. And he's going to 3-bet here. He's going to find it there, for sure. For sure, when I have the jack 10 off, he will find the 3-bet, but not the ace king off. Yes. Spot on. Basically, the exploit against someone who's over 3-betting, you can see his 3-bet stats like 14 or 15 or 14%. A great exploit for that at 100 big blinds anyway. I'm not sure about deeper, like 150, 200, but at 100 big blinds, a good exploit against players who are doing that is to just 4-bet shove a lot of hands. Even just using the hands that the solver 4-bet shoves is probably enough. I don't think you have to do any more than that, because maybe you could even do more than that against someone who's really egregiously over 3-betting. There's like a bit of a method for determining which hands can make it into the shove. But, you know, you'll be taking some pairs, some ace-king. Over here, when we get cold called, jack high board, just gonna be checking. Very small bet. I think we probably float. We'll check again. This turn is actually kind of good for his range, even though it's also good for us. And on this run out, I think we should bluff. I'm just gonna do a size he can't call a 10, basically. Yeah, I think a lot of players underbluff like their pairs, but that's gonna be like one of our worst hands for sure. We'll take king high to showdown, but yeah, that spot is gonna print bluffing there. We went with king high over here versus queen high. Yeah, like overbet might not even be the right size. Like that probably isn't the size I use for value with the king, but I just think it's so hard for him to make a hero call there on that board with like the types of hands that were something on the flop, like one pair, like a queen or a jack or a 10. Here we're gonna put in a 3-bet. We could consider calling to induce, but that's a little fancy. Like this is the guy who's over 3-betting, but that's a little too fancy, I think. So we're just gonna play standard 3-bet, and if he 4-bets, obviously we'll be shoving. Versus half. I think technically we have to call, but I don't like it. Oh, and over here we will just put it in. Actually, I'm just gonna fold. Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't go all in. 5. Call for the 5 and get it. That's sick. It's funny, it was actually I can't believe I actually didn't get all in there. That's kind of a bit of a mistake, I guess. Or maybe it's not really a mistake. Any hand that's gonna call, we'll just put in the rest of the chips. And any hand that's gonna fold will fold anyway, but it's still kind of funny. It's like the tournament strat. Leave yourself one chip behind. Try and spin back a stack. Yeah, and then over here, folding the 4s on the flop. It's not my favorite, but it's going to be already really close, even with wide ranges, blind versus blind. I'll have to take a look at that. I'm not sure on like the king 6 through 4s. Like, we also block some logical bluffs that might start using like half pot, like hands with a 4, obviously. Some sort of like backdoors and things like that. And this guy actually woke up with a hand that time. He's been like way over 3-betting and 4-betting, but he just had queens. So, I think, yeah, so this is button versus big blind. I'm just gonna start betting this hand. A lot of backdoor potential. This hand sort of clears better king X, so like a king turn. It's pretty clean if he calls. Not a good turn for my range. He's going to obviously have a big advantage in 4x because he will flat a lot of 4x on the flop that I won't c-bet large with. So I think even though we have a flush draw, we're just going to check back and take our equity. We could just consider betting again. But just going to check back this time. Excuse me, sorry. And this is a bit of a tough one. I don't think we're often good when we check back here, but I think like he can just have like he took a while to call, so he could just have like a gut shot or something or backdoor flush draw. He wasn't sure that he should continue or not, and then sort of doesn't bluff it. So it's a bit wishful thinking, but I don't think we have to bluff this hand. Oh wow. Okay. Well, I was wrong on many things about that hand. Here, I'm just going to 3-bet queen jack suited. Here, we'll check. I was wrong about clearing a better king X. I was wrong about not needing to bluff. But, you know, it happens. Over here, I think we'll start bluffing this hand with a spade and with a jack. And in terms of size, I think I'll probably want to start betting for value, maybe like 2 pair plus. So I'm just going to use a decently large size. Take it down. Obviously, we'll follow through a decent number of rivers there, especially spade rivers for sure. Non-spade rivers, I'm not sure. It depends. If our jack becomes more relevant somehow, it's you know, it was already kind of a relevant blocker, but. Min open UTG, ace 4 suited, cutoff. Again, we're getting under 3-bet, so I could probably just throw in a flat from the cutoff here, which is rare, but yeah, it does suck a little bit more to get 4-bet shoved on with this hand, so I will flat, even though you could just 3-bet fold this hand. But I just think I'm getting under 3-bet, and obviously this is the type of hand where it's kind of like the more the merrier if we make the nuts. Blind versus blind. You could probably 3-bet 6-7 suited, but this time I'll just call against this type of player. A little bit on the tighter side. Hold over here. 10-8-8 facing 2 checks. It's a very small bet, so we'll just call. I don't think we need to raise non-combo flush draws, non-nut, non-combo flush draws. We'll check back over here. Turn an ace. That's obviously a good card. We will start betting, I think I'll use half pot. I'll use like 2/3. We get the check through on the ace, so I think I can start value betting my ace. We'll chop with some better aces, like better higher kicker aces, which is a little bit of protection. We'll use something like that, where like a 10 will definitely come along. Although I don't think they have many 10x. I guess this guy can have a 10, or like some lower pocket pairs. Bit weird multi-way here with this hand, so I don't know, maybe 3-betting pre was the right move. We get this run out. And he just leads. Very interesting. Could be like a Jack-9. I don't think our hand can call, unfortunately. There aren't many logical, like, float turn with, like, trash, and then have nothing on the river. Like, the main draw on the turn is, like, the gut shot, like, or the open ender, like, Jack-9. Or, like, 7-9, in which case he'd probably check. Try and take some showdown. But, yeah, I think we're just going to let this one go. It's also a bit strange to, like, call and then lead into 2 people as a bluff. It would have to be a kind of like a random spur-of-the-moment type decision for him, so. 10-3 deuce, we'll check. That's kind of close here, but it's a bit... Yeah, it's probably not enough equity to call, unfortunately. Oh, what do you know? We could argue for a call there because we're not going to get enough pressure put on us enough of the time on different runouts. Like, they'll check back turn a lot. We'll get to realize our equity more than we should. So maybe... Yeah, maybe for 3 into 8 we have to call, but... Got some hands. We'll let this go. Again, like, for these offsuit type combos you're not sure about, if you can identify combos that are just, like, strictly better, like, for example, all the combos with the club are strictly better to continue, then you rarely have to continue the ones without that are strictly worse. Sometimes you do. Like, if I had Queen 10 there, which is like a gut shot, obviously, you know, that's a continue, regardless of suits. Playing a limped pot over here with the 7-4 off. Face pot. Oh, we will let it go for that. This might be too wide, but even if it's 1 pip too wide, I'll just open it anyway for the video. 5-5-3. Paired board, that's a 5. Not my favorite to just start c-betting a ton. This type of texture, facing small blind call. Again, obviously I don't think his small blind call is correct, like his range is like what it should be, but still, just not my favorite c-bet. And with our like backdoor hearts, like it kind of sucks to get check raised a little bit more. So, and here I think we'll just bet small. We have our gut shot, so we have equity against the continues, even though we don't have a heart. And it also gives us some hands to bluff when 4 hearts come. Like when a 4th heart comes, if we only c-bet our heart X combos, and obviously we don't have any bluffs anymore. It's funny, I turned off all of the sounds, like the timer noises and the table noises and things like that. I turned them all the way down, but for some reason you can still hear them a little bit, which is odd. Maybe you can't fully disable them. But I think they're quiet enough now where they're not going to be annoying for the video. BRB, quick smoke. You're good, bro. Take 5, brother. I appreciate good etiquette when it's displayed, honestly. I'll take it. I'll take it. Not enough good etiquette in the poker world these days, so. Blind versus blind, 10-8 off. Maybe not in theory, but against a weaker player, I'll just open a pip wider. You know, maybe it is even in theory, actually. 10-8 off. Yeah, I think it might be. Obviously, you can tell by my ramblings in some of these open spots that I don't really have my ranges super ship shape, super neat from all the positions right now. But I don't really think it's super required at this stake to really be like in tip-top shape for your exact ranges from every position. I think a little bit of flexibility, in fact, is probably a good thing based on some of the dynamics at the table. Now, I could just be making excuses for being lazy and not refreshing myself when I start to forget stuff, but oh well. Over here on the ace queen deuce, it depends on the type of strategy you want to play. Over bet or check or small bet range. I like small betting range against weaker players just because versus bets they're gonna make more mistakes than versus a check in flop spots usually. I'm just gonna check down this hand. Here, ace turn. If I was gonna barrel, I'd probably barrel diamonds, or spades, obviously. Some other types of draws, so we'll just check that time. If we get check 2, we can probably bluff. Versus block. He could just trap an ace like in a small size. So. Oh wow, okay. So I'm not gonna do anything too fancy with 7-8 here. We'll open queen jack off button. We get 10-7 deuce 2 diamonds. I think this hand qualifies as a good c-bet, like an overcard c-bet. Obviously having a diamond is nice, having some backdoors is nice. So we'll go ahead and use 3/4, so that'd be our main size. And generally in a lot of these spots, like the lower your overcards, the better in terms of c-betting. It just accomplishes more in terms of holding out, dominating cards. On this turn, I think we'll probably barrel. In terms of size, I think the correct size is not overbet after the big bet flop turn overcard. So I'm just gonna use this size. We're gonna go for half pot on king 7-5, big blind versus button. On this river, unfortunately, I think we give up. Suddenly the diamond is not a good card to have. Because we want him to have like a jack X of diamonds type hand, which can fold here. So obviously we have some better combos to bluff. Yeah, that would not have worked, I don't think. Very strange flat, but that'll happen. So here, I don't think we ever river any 6x. I mean, we have like 6-7, 5-6 sometimes. Those hands might not see bet flop. I also think he has a lot of pocket pairs, so he'll have like a lot of the sets. Not having a heart is good, but having spades is a little less than ideal because I do think he floats against half pot with a hand, maybe like queen jack of spades. So I think we'll also give this one up. Yeah. Don't think it would have worked there, obviously. It's a little, obviously in his shoes, I think he can probably go for value there, but we'll 3-bet the king-9 suited. Tough couple hands right there, but it happens. In both cases, I think pulling the trigger on the river would have been, you know, probably not great. Obviously over here, I think we get called a ton. Here, I don't know. King, queen, it's a little bit of a scary board for king, queen, but people just sigh and flick in the call a lot of times. I don't think it's really credible for us to take a size that will fold out a king there, like a shove. We just don't have enough straights or sets for that matter. We'll check the 7-7-3 paired low medium card with the ace high. Check again. Try and take our ace high to showdown. Obviously, we river a decent hand over here. We'll go for some value. We get a tiny 3-bet here, but our hand's not good enough to call. And this player not bluffing. Probably should have bet turn with his gut shot and bluffed river. So we'll go ahead and tag him as a bit on the tighter side. With this player in the hand, it's very tempting to continue. Just gonna let it go this time. Shows the threes and folds. Big laydown. Yeah, I think, I don't know, that might be a mistake. Just against like a little bit of a tighter player who's in the positions of under the gun +1 and small blind. I don't know. You can make an argument for either way. Queen 9-5, Queen 10 I'll bet. Just about makes the cutoff, like Queen 8 suited or something, maybe not. We'll check back deuces and here, check. Turn ace of diamonds over here and he leads. Which is a little strange, but I don't think we can fold with our backup equity with a 10 of diamonds. We pick up a pair over here, so I might just start lead small for value. He is just going to have it a lot here, like a flush. People don't just like lead a lot of bluffs. Okay. Maybe it was like a thin ace lead or something like that, but I don't think we can turn our hand into a bluff. I think a queen's just a little too good. For here, it's close, but I just don't think people bluff in these limp spots. Okay, chop it up. I'll just call a long play with this recreational player in the big blind instead of ISOing. You could go either way. Both plays are going to be good. Alright, I think we're probably getting close to the end here. Versus pot into multiple people. Yeah, this is kind of why it sucks to flat small blind pre. Because like our hand would love to continue, but we just have like no visibility out of position here with like a backdoor type hand, so I'm just gonna let it go. we'll check range in this configuration. I think it also works well when the button is a bit of a fun player. Here, you can make an argument for both, but I do like just check again. We're still ahead of a lot of just like pocket pair type hands, and which I don't know if they will call a bet. On this river, we could consider a block, target like a 9 or a pocket pair. He will have like the occasional 5x, so I'm just gonna go small. Target a hand like 6s. Speak of the devil. Alright, we'll do a few more hands and then wrap it up. Ace 8-7. I think we'll just check this back. This board's a little coordinated again. I think people over c-bet these configurations versus small blind flat. Yeah, and our hand kind of just wants to get the showdown, but it's getting worse now. Versus small bet, I think we float with our open ender. But the sizing is a little custom, so it's, I'm a little worried. Like this 40% or whatever. But I think we have to call. We river a set, which is interesting. I think we call like a reasonable size bet, but I still think we fold to it. Yeah, that's tough. I think he's just gonna have a straight a lot. And I don't think he's betting worse. And he could have some bluffs like clubs. I think a lot of logical bluffs on the turn are going to be 10x. I'm just going to let this go. Yeah. You could just have like a 5 as well. I don't think he'll bet 2 pair there, so I'll not run out, but I don't know, not a very comfortable spot. First, this was like a weird hand. He like 3-bet tiny. I'm just going to call in position. Versus pot, do we just shove? I don't know. I think he like always has an overpair. Like queen jack gets there on the turn. I think we just call because we do have a pair. If it goes check check on the river, we might win versus his give ups. It's not a good river. It's a very quick check. Like I think if he had true air, he might might consider bluffing for longer than that. So maybe, yeah, that's interesting. Here, I'm just gonna kind of try and size to get it in. What happened over here? Oh, check. Kings. Yeah, that one's tough. And here I just think we go for it. We still beat a hand like Jack 10, so. No snap, please. No snap is good. Nice hand. Alright, I think with that we'll probably wrap it up. Nice hand with aces over here on table 3. I was talking about the other hand, so I didn't really talk too much about this, but it was pretty straightforward. Just 3-bet pre, c-bet flop half, which I think is the main size we're going to use blind versus blind. Over here, by the way, this is a weird one. I don't think like we need to start generating hero calls in these spots, considering like the EV we get from like other other places. But I guess if you really want to, like, this hand could definitely consider it. I'm not too. I don't remember the action exactly, honestly, because the other two hands were kind of taking my attention. So I'm not gonna like choose this spot to go for it because, yeah, I'm not too sure. But could definitely consider it there. But yeah, with aces, just 3-bet pre, c-bet a pretty dry flop for half, barrel a dry turn for like almost geometric. I think maybe we sized like 75%. I'll just flat this here, try and bring this player in, try and flop a set. Gamble, gamble. Nope, we failed. Okay, my mouse is glitching. And then yeah, on river we have about pot, and I think our hand's definitely good enough to go for it. So here, ace of hearts, we'll just c-bet. I think that's a good heuristic for c-betting these types of spots. You could just c-bet range here as well, but if you weren't going to c-bet range, I think having the ace of hearts is good. That's very interesting. Here, even versus small bet without a heart, I think we'll just let it go out of position. I don't think we can fold, which is funny, especially with the 10, because we can just hit a 9. But it's really funny, he just donks pot here. Okay, well that's a disaster. If he checks now, I think we can bluff, but... Let's see what happens. I kind of want him to check, so we can... Yeah, that's not a check. Do we raise? Half pot is such a weak size in this line. You would think if he had like a really good hand, he would just... Because like he donks pot turn. I think we just raise. In terms of size... We don't have a pair, which is a bit unfortunate. Yeah, maybe we need like ace-8 off with like the ace of hearts and like an 8. Or like a 4. Yeah, I think this is a bit spew. Even though like the size is so weak, I think to shove here would be a little spewy. Ace 3 suited, I'll just let go. Yeah, just let it go. That's tough. Alright, I think we should probably wrap it up there. Now I'm sad for about that hand. I'll review all these hands and stuff on my own and throw in some solver output over the video, so you guys will have seen that already. But yeah, I think we'll sit out on all these tables. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully can get back to making some more of these more consistently. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions about any of the hands or thoughts on any of my decisions or things like that. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. Bye.